Hello again. You may ask, why are you invited to participate at this workshop, and how what we are talking so far today relates to your everyday work. And this is what I'm going to tell you and talk about in the next half an hour. So, you already heard from previous presentation that machine translation methods, what are used nowadays, are based on the data. In a simple form, we can say that machines are able to learn how to translate from human translations. Machines are able to learn how to construct correct sentences in a given language from human language. But machines are not so good as people are. Even small kid can learn language and also can learn foreign language just by listening others or watching TV from a small amount of data. For machines need a lot, millions and millions of words and sentences to learn how to translate. And in this graph, you can see this visual representation that on horizontal axis, there's a number of words or sentences provided to train machines, to teach machines how to translate. And on the vertical axis, it's a blue score, or actually it's a measurement of translation quality. It's a measurement how close machine translation is to human translation. It's like a simplified understanding. It could be a percentage of closeness of machine translation to human translation. And on this graph you can see the more data you have, the better quality you can achieve. But these quality improvements are not very rapid, they are gradual. And you need a lot of data. And there's a blue line and red line. Blue line is for general language, meaning all kind of general texts used in everyday communication, newspapers, social media. And you see that quality for general language is much lower because variations are so wide. For machines, it's difficult to understand. Even sometimes for humans, it's difficult to understand some strange texts with ironical meaning, for example. And the red line, it's a domain-specific translation in a specific field. And it's the same for machines how it's for humans. If, for example, if you are asking somebody to translate a medical conference, you will most likely make sure that this person not only knows the target language, for example, Lithuanian and English, but also knows the medical domain specifics of medicine and pharmacy. But in here you can, in that narrow field, you can achieve high quality of translation. And so this is basically why Commission is, European Commission is inviting public sector participants all across Europe to participate in this, because every institution, every organization nowadays works with data. And it's not only figures and numbers. You do have a lot of documents and a lot of taxonomies, spreadsheets, and a lot of textual data. So this textual data is also a very valuable resource to train, to teach machines the better way to translate. So for machines, all kind of words and sentences are useful. And examples are reports, speeches, web pages, brochures, such a collection of words in different forms. And both in one language, so that machine can learn the specific of that language, and the most valuable are translations. Translations from one language into another language of all kinds of information, legal acts, documents, speeches, websites. And this data is residing in every institution. If you most likely have this data in Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PDFs, web pages, in all kind of different formats. And also, it's not only just about documents and texts, but also about dictionaries, terminologies, taxonomies, what are used in institutions to know the particular terms and conventions, how to call different things in different contexts. And here we can talk about two kinds of data. One is so-called visible data, what you can find on the web, on different websites, and sometimes there's a belief that everything could be found on the web, and it's far from true. I will show it later. And when we're always closed data resources inside institution servers, archives, and repositories. And then particularly, I'd like to draw your attention to the translations, what you outsource to translation companies or translation service providers. Nowadays, all professional translation companies and individuals will use translation systems, translation memories, but keep these systems in their database everything what was translated. And so if similar sentence appears again in different document, there's no need to translate it again. It's reused from the database. And it's important to make sure that when you receive translation back from translation company, we very much advise you to ask with translation memories, with database also provided back to you, because it's actually what you have paid for. And it's very useful for your institution, so that if you will have similar document, you will not need to translate everything, but just change it parts. So you will save costs. And also with translation memories are very useful for machine translation. So what is like one practical advice, if you outsource translation, make sure that in your contracts there is this provision what a company should provide back translation memories. There are different practices in different countries. In some countries, like we just last week had such workshop in Helsinki. In Finland, it's a generic practice. Everybody does that translation memories are collected. And for example, municipality of Helsinki, they save a huge amount of money. They should translate in several languages. And in Finland, you know, there's Finnish and Swedish, two official languages, and there are other languages in use, so they do a lot of translations. And these translation memories, what are created from previous translation, help them to save a lot of money in translation, and we will contribute that for the European Commission. This is just an example in other country. So, and yeah, talking about the data, this is like visual representation. This iceberg shows that experts believe a proportion of the data, that just 4% of all the data what's available in digital form, just 4% of that data could be found online. It's so-called public web. 96%, absolute majority of data is hidden behind the passwords in closed systems, databases, repositories, and so on. But with deep web hidden data is also extremely useful resource. Yeah, actually, this is what I already told you about. And so, yeah, please, we invite you to look at the documents, at the information what is at your institutions, not only as a primary, for its primary purpose, but also as a language resource, language data, that can be helpful to develop Lithuanian language technologies, but also what could help you if you will need to do future translations to save costs. And for the language resources, we do have like a certain life cycle. Like humans, we do have our life cycle, also language resources do have it. And it starts with understanding what do you have, what data you have, specifying that, when preparing, processing it for the different needs, when validating the data, making sure that it's not corrupted, it's clean and ready to use, and when sharing, distributing to those who need that data for its usage. And when also a very important aspect is to make sure that data is preserved, maintained, that it will not disappear in a short future. And we can look at it as a kind of also value chain. And in this value chain, our consortium is tasked by European Commission to help you in this work, help you in identification and selection of data, particularly if you do not have clear idea, can you share that data or not? Is it public or not? A lot of data is shareable. European Commission, European Union adopted so-called PSI directive, Public Sector Information Directive, that is opening access to all information what is produced by public money at public institutions for open use, with only very limited restrictions. And restrictions are for personal data, private data, and confidential data. And so if you have questions about the status, legal status of your data, we do have a help desk to help you to assess it. We can help you in licensing agreements. If you outsource certain work, like translation work, to other company, or to some outside translator, or somebody writes a report or document to you, we can help you to make sure that in agreement there are legal aspects covered so that you can freely use the result of that work without any restrictions. When we can help you also with privacy handling, how to anonymize or filter out private data out of data pools, and also to make sure that data is well maintained. And just some examples of these various data formats what you can look for. Printed publications, which just is scanned form. It's a very interesting resource, but not very useful because it's printed and it's very difficult to process it. So we are not interested actually at this phase in printed materials. But electronic materials can be in many formats. And here I have examples of taxonomies and dictionaries and glossaries from different institutions in terminology field that could be structured different ways. This is an example of explanatory dictionary in Word document. Here you have another PDF document. Here you have IT standard in HTML document. You can have Excel spreadsheets. You can have specifically tagged or formatted data. This all kind of electronic digital data could be useful to extract texts out of it and to provide to machine translation to machines to learn how to better translate. As I said, we are here to help you to identify those sources, and if you have identified those, basically it should somehow be described with data what you have. And a full description what is used in archives and libraries, we call it Dublin Core metadata set. It's extensive, but these few red metadata fields are like the most essential what you can fill for the data, so that you later know what kind of data this is and where it's coming from and when it's created. And again, we can help you in providing the best practice, how to describe this data and how to keep that information inside your institution. Then, we do have in the consortium a lot of expertise in processing the data, like extracting textual information from all kinds of formats, making sure that encoding is correct, removing formatting tags, converting files to different formats, and preparation of this data for automated translation. At the same time, some institutions, if you have some internal expertise and technical people who are interested to do it in-house by yourself, for example, academic institutions, or if you have larger translation group, you may want to create these translation memories in-house. We can provide you good technologies to do that. Like with Let's MT technology, it may seem a bit complicated, but it could be very simply used. It's an online cloud-based tool where you can upload your files, and this cloud-based system extracts parallel sentences out of uploaded documents. And when you can use this parallel data for machine translation or for creating these translation memories that you can use in your translation work. Again, these translation memories, these are not used for translating in a Word. These are used for translating in computer-aided translation systems, like Trados is a very popular system. Lithuanian Same parliament is using Trados system, for example, in translation, and many institutions use that, and it directly use translation memories to do semi-automated translation. So we can help you to create these translation memories. We can help you to extract these parallel sentences also from so-called comparable data. For example, if you write news articles in Lithuanian and in English, most likely for international audience, we are a bit adapted. Something is added or something is changed to explain the context. So these are not one-to-one matches in translation. But we do have tools that find matching sentences, even if the documents are not exactly matching. And as a result are these aligned sentences in one language, another language. And also very useful tools could be for terminology. You probably, if you work with documents, it's important to use the right terms, to the right naming of concepts, so that document and information is understandable. And we do have tools that we can provide, cloud-based tools for terminology extraction from the documents, so that you can see what kind of terms are used in your documents, and when the system will automatically find the translations in other languages. For example, this system uses IATE database. This is a data terminology database used by all European institutions, and there are thousands and thousands of terms in that database, and you can automatically see translations of these terms for your documents. And also Eurotermbank, terminology bank of different national terminology institutions in Europe, is linked to this cloud system. Again, these tools can help in your work, and these tools can help to create data for this automated translation improvements. And you are very welcome to contact us, and we will provide your technicians with detailed information how to use them. And for legal issues, this is an area where usually we do have a lot of concerns from institutions. Can we really share that data? Couldn't we come into any troubles by providing these resources, what were kept in-house, and now we will open them? What will happen? And we, at our consortium, we do have a legal help desk, European lawyers who are specializing in this field and who will provide you professional advice and assessment about what can be used with your data, what part of it could be shared and what part should not. And also help you with licensing agreements. When you create new content, new translations, you can use standard licensing agreements covering all the aspects. And if you do not take care about that, you can go into a gray area. For example, you have to make sure that you have full rights to modify translations. Because if that's not included in agreement, there could be some issues with it. When data anonymization, if there are some personal names in the data, that data, of course, could not be opened, provided openly. But there are good tools that can filter out that personal information and anonymize it, replace with basic fillers so that it becomes generic and shareable. And in data sharing, we, of course, are very interested that you open that data, share with the European Commission, and not only. This activity will help also with developments here in Lithuania, and with data what will be opened to everybody, to researchers at the Lithuanian universities, to State Language Commission in Lithuania, and to companies who want to use that data also will benefit from this data in developing particular solutions. And some may ask why was the need to work on machine translation in Lithuania if European Commission is doing that work? Yeah, the answer is very simple. This work is such a complex and large that Commission itself cannot cover everything. We are creating a generic platform and generic methods, and we are very interested that there are national programs, national developments to develop specific tools, approaches, resources for particular language in EU member states, and adapt these solutions for the needs for the member states, not just for the European Commission, but for different applications and domains in the member states. And I don't know, we will have a video link with Commission where we'll show some developments. We usually show this example of simple sentence, I love you. Very basic and nice sentence. But the Commission system is not able to translate it. Not because it's difficult, but because the system is not meant. It's meant to translate legal texts and official information, but not such a nice everyday language. And for other purpose, there is a need for other systems. And these systems, we cannot expect that somebody in America or in Luxembourg will develop these systems. These systems, it's important to develop here in for every language in the member states. And also, by sharing your data, you will assure that this data will be preserved. It will not disappear. And the way how it will be provided is a European Open Data Portal. European Commission is developing a big platform to collect all kinds of open data. And language data is one of the most asked and useful data in this European Open Data Platform. And this is a big platform with archiving, backupping, versioning features that make sure that if you put something there, it will stay there and will be preserved for the future. So data preservation will be ensured. So we encourage and invite you to involve in these activities by assessing what data do you have and collecting the data, what could be shared, and providing it to for this ELRC activity and also for Lithuanian language resource institutions. Again, practical information and details could be found on this alertcoordination.eu website, and also on this website there is a form where you can upload your data and provide it and share it, and we will also have different incentives how to award and motivate those who will be the most active institutions. They will be recognized at the European level for participating in this activity. And as this area maybe for many of you is new and may seem complex, to free you from that complexity, we do have this help desk for technical issues and for legal issues, and you can call it or write to it or participate in forums again on this website. So this workshop is a beginning of the process. The next major step will be a large conference in Brussels this autumn, but we very much encourage you to start this involvement, and this will help your institutions, and this will help common European multilingualism. Thank you.
And thank you for a very useful presentation. And my question would be, in your opinion, what are the main challenges at the moment? Is it just collecting data or raising awareness of institutions? Just in your opinion, the main ones. Thank you.
Yeah, collecting data is very important, and particularly for rich languages like Lithuanian language is very rich with different word forms, and this is a richness of language, but it's difficult for computers to learn this richness. And for these languages, complex languages, where much more data is needed than, for example, for English, French, or Spanish, which are simpler for computers to learn. But from the other dimension, besides technical aspects and data aspects, there is also perception of technology. Sometimes there are two extremes what we see. Some people say machine translation is not useful at all. It's laughable. It's a crap that's coming out of machine translation. And there is other extreme that say, oh, machine translation will replace humans. We will not need human translators. Machines will do everything. And both ways are completely wrong. Machine translation is not for everything, and there's certain areas where it could be useful and very useful, and there are areas where there is no use of machine translation. It's very useful if you need to grasp to understand the basic meaning of information. Just to give you one example, at one institution, I'm from Latvia, and we talked with one big government institution. They do have translation department, and one official came with a huge stack of many printouts and said, oh, I need to understand what's in these documents. Please translate it for me. And they spent 2 weeks to translate. And when that was very expensive, and we returned back to this information to official, and he said, but this is not relevant to me. I was interested about customs, about custom policy if you transfer the goods from one country to other country, but there are so many documents about traditions, national customs. And that's because this official just looked through, Googled customs on the web and printed out many documents, and were not able to filter out which are relevant and which are not. And for this purpose, machine translation could be very useful. Understand which information is for you, and when, if you need to understand it very well, and if you are interested in many details of that information, when human translators are needed because only humans can understand the meaning of the text, and to make sure that this meaning is reflected in the target language translation. And when there are areas like digital services where it's simply impossible to involve humans, it's real-time information, and again, for digital service, machine translation could help people to find the right service that they are interested in, or to seek opinions in social media, but it's not for fine-grained, precise, professional translation. The machines cannot replace humans, machines can help humans.